I'd like to call this meeting in order of the Yankton Board of City Commissioners. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Sarda.
Here.
Burdick.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Mybom.
Here.
Minor.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Mayor Hoffman.
Here.
City Manager Nelson.
Here.
City Attorney Denver.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll continue for our business and welcome everyone this evening and all of those people out there, thousands listening. Hi, Mom. Anyway, let's move on to the minutes of March 26th, both the work session and the regular meeting. What is your pleasure?
I move the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion in regards to the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, before you have the schedule of bills.
I move that we pay the bills.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to pay the bills. Any discussion in regards to the bills? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye. Motion carried. Number 4 under routine business is proclamations. We have excited 3 worthy, awesome proclamations to give. The first one is for Arbor Day. There's a tree growing in the middle of the proclamation. I don't know if I can read through. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, with the city of Yankton celebrating its 32nd year of being a Tree City, USA. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-living oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And now therefore, I, Jake Hoffner, Mayor of the City of Yankton, do hereby proclaim April 27, 2018 as Arbor Day in the city of Yankton, South Dakota, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Anybody here? Todd? Our second proclamation is for Telecommunicators Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Yankton Dispatch Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators at the Yankton Dispatch Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in this past year. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Yankton City Commission declares the week of April 8th to the 14th of 2018 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Yankton, in honor of the men and women who diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Anybody? Last but not least, we have one more for library. Whereas libraries are not just about what they have for people, but what they do for and with people. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, and library workers and librarians fuel efforts to better their communities, campuses, and schools. Whereas librarians are leaders in their institutions and organizations, in their communities, in the nation, and in the world. Whereas libraries continue to lead the way in leveling the playing field for all who seek information and access to technologies. Whereas libraries and librarians look beyond their traditional roles and provide transformative opportunities for education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement, as well as new services that connect closely with patrons' needs. Whereas libraries and librarians lead their communities in innovation, providing STEM programming, maker spaces, and access and training for new technologies. Whereas libraries are pioneers supporting democracy and affecting social change, with a commitment to providing equitable access to information for all library users, regardless of race, ethnicity, I never get that word right, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender, identity, and socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jake Hoffner, Mayor, proclaim National Library Week, April 8th to the 14th of 2018. And I encourage all residents to visit the library this week and explore what's new at your library and engage with your librarian. Because of you and our library leaders, libraries transform. Okay, we're moving on to City Manager's report. Amy?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission, and public. A couple of things this evening want to bring to your attention. In celebration of Library Week, there is a Drop Everything and Read event. So if you're interested in dropping everything and reading this week, you can contact the library and they'll set you up with a time. They'll put you in a cozy chair and give you a book, and you can read and celebrate Library Week with them. Tomorrow, of course, is our municipal election. Our polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can come to City Hall and vote. That's one of our polling places, or out to Joe Dean's. So please, if you haven't done so already, please vote and encourage others to vote as well. Citywide Cleanup has resumed after our winter weather, so we're a little behind on Citywide Cleanup. If people will be patient with the weather and with us, sooner rather than later, hopefully we'll get things cleaned up for the spring. Also, the date for the Washington, D.C. trip chamber fly-in is going to be the week of May 21st. We'll see what our election results are, and then I'll send out another email, and we'll get organized as to who is going to be traveling with the chamber for the fly-in. We have Officer Pat Knowles here this evening helping us out, along with one of our new recruits that he's going to introduce you to.
This is our newest recruit. His name's Dylan Wilson. Started with us on February 26th. Any questions for him? Where you from?
Bloomfield, Nebraska. Yep.
Dylan's going to complete. He's just on the street now. We just started last week on the street, so you'll see us out and about. He'll complete about 4 months of that training, and then he'll go to peer for 14 weeks. Is that correct?
Yep.
For 14 weeks. So it's a long process. By the end of the year, hopefully he'll fully be ready to roll and be out and going. So.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I have nothing further, Mayor, unless the Commission has questions of me.
Any questions for Manager Nelson?
Amy, you had sent us an invitation on behalf of United Way to the poverty simulation occurring at Mount Marty on May 4th. And I had the opportunity to sit in on a session on Friday where the organizer of that event was talking about it, and I just want to encourage the commissioners to sign up for either the morning or afternoon session. I think it'll be really insightful and help us understand the challenges that many in our city face on a day-to-day basis. Thanks.
Yes, and just let us know if you plan. We know that Commissioner Johnson's attending. If someone else is planning to attend, we want to, of course, make sure that we avoid a quorum or notify the press.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions for Manager Nelson? All right, if not, we'll move on to public appearances, and we have Tanya.
So we have lots about libraries today. We published our annual report recently, and I put one out for all of you, and then it's also up on the screen. So I just want to go through a couple of things. So our biggest thing in 2017 was that we got rid of fines. Yay! It's very exciting. The library board, towards the end of the year, decided to get rid of fines on books, audiobooks, CDs, and magazines. So everything but DVDs. It's been going really well so far. We haven't noticed an increase in things being lost or anything like that. And it seems that we're getting a lot of people in, and people seem excited about it. So we're happy with that progress. We also reviewed our strategic plan and identified some core service values, providing access, which is part of the eliminating fines, promoting lifelong learning, increasing community engagement, and exceeding expectations. We also welcomed new staff and said goodbye to staff that have been with us for quite some time. So Teresa Bosch was at the library for 17 years, and she retired. And because of that, we welcomed a couple of new staff members, Amanda LaCroix and Sierra Armstrong. We circulated a lot of materials in 2017, 153,431 materials. So that averages out to 412 physical items leaving the library each day. That doesn't include any of our online circulation, which is actually much lower than the physical circulation, which is interesting. Everybody always thinks ebooks, 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 and they're great, but print is still king. So we're proud of that. We also made some changes to library cards. So previously, children had to be 3 years old before they could get a library card. We decided if you want to bring your 3-month-old in and get them a library card, that's totally up to you. County and non-resident households used to be limited to 1 card per household for privacy reasons and other limits we have on ebooks and DVDs and things. We decided that everyone in a household could get their own card for the same fee. And we also worked out an agreement with the Pathways Shelter for the Homeless, so their residents can now get cards to the library for the first time ever. They do have a couple of special circumstances, and we work with Jesse Bailey on that, and that program has also been going really well, and we're really happy to provide that access as well. You can see some numbers there. We have 4,513 city residents with cards, almost 1,000 county residents, 227 non-residents, 58 teachers, and 24 Mount Marty students. Then on the next page, programs. So we did 465 programs last year with over 7,000 attendees. So that's more than one program every single day. So there are people that think libraries are just about books and quietly reading, and if you think that, you maybe haven't been to the library around 3:45 or so when all the kids are there after school, and we're doing Lego Club, and there's all kinds of things going on. So we have pictures of a couple of things. We do a cemetery walk every year. We did a couple of historic home tours, and our biggest event for adults was the Veterans Day Living Library. So all kinds of cool things happening. And then on the next page, we've got all kinds of things happening for the youth too. So last year our summer reading program was Build a Better World, and we did programs around that. We did the story walk, which is also always really popular. This year we're doing Libraries Rock, so look for lots of music themed programming. And then services. So the computers are very important at the library. We have 10 public access computers. They were used for over 10,000 hours in 2017. So over 1,000 hours per computer seems pretty good. We have meeting spaces at the library. They were used for over 2,000 hours in 2017. We did over 270 proctored tests. So students doing online degrees can come and get their test proctored at the library. Sometimes we have up to 8 students in a day, so that's always a fun juggling act with one study room and one laptop. And then outreach. So we visit daycares and nursing homes and homebound patrons each month. Daycare outreach is twice a month, and outreach to the homebound is once a month. There are about 245 books delivered on the first Wednesday of each month to the elderly outreach patrons. So that's always an amazing feat. We fill up all of our baskets and go visit them. It's usually the library, Hy-Vee, and what's the other stuff? There's, we're one of the top discussion items at the nursing home, so that's always good. And then the library's out in the community too. So we work with the Yankton Area Arts, the Banquet, Interchange, Life Serve Blood Center, Pathways, SCORE, the SDSU Extension Office, and we're on all kinds of boards, so you'll see us all around. And then for National Library Week, Amy already mentioned Deer. All throughout the week, we're doing the Book Face Challenge. So if you guys haven't seen that, it's where you hold up a book as part of your body. So I brought a selection of books if anybody wants to take part after the meeting. And we're also doing a green screen event. So we have a green screen now, and you can come and share why you love the library, and we'll put it in our video. Any questions?
Wow, that was a lot of information.
Yeah, sorry to throw it all at you.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Mayor, I have a
Comments?
question. Tanya, can you explain how your relationship with the federal prison camp works?
So we do courier service is out of the library, and we work with the federal prison camp to provide them books. Dana might know a little more about that. She works more closely with it, but they send requests to us, and each day we gather them and send them back to them. And the volume of books going in and out of the prison from us is just astonishing. Every day that I see the basket unfilled and refilled, the slip of papers, it's incredible. So we're happy to provide that service.
I just appreciate the work you and the library staff and the library board are doing to make the library accessible to everyone, whether they can come to you or you can get to them. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So explain what we're supposed to do with your homework for us, or?
Yeah, if you want to participate, I brought some books, and they have like faces on them, and we'll make it kind of bring the book cover to life. So I'll hang around after the meeting if anybody's interested.
Absolutely. I'm in,
Thanks, guys.
I think. Thank you very much, Tanya. This is the time, again, and place that we allow public appearance. If anybody has anything from the public that is not on the agenda, please come forward. Okay, we'll move on to consent items. Number 1 is the notice to call for the City Commission election on Friday, April 13th at noon. Special City Commission meeting for canvass. Think we need a motion or anything, do we, for that? Just announcement? Okay, and number 2, we are establishing our first budget workshop meeting date. And Amy, you'd like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we can set that. My suggestion, and what I've heard from a lot of you, is that in lieu of a work session on April 23rd, that we would conduct the budget meeting, capital improvement budget meeting on that Monday, April 23rd, starting early, starting at 5:30, working up to our regular business. If we don't finish, then finish after, as opposed to scheduling 2 nights. Remember, this is the first meeting where we just broadly look over the capital improvement budget, and since we're doing so many capital improvements this year, I anticipate that meeting to be short, so I think we can get it done on that Monday evening. So if that's okay, we'll plan for 5:30 on the 23rd, and we'll notify the press accordingly.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, number 3, under consent items, establishing the date for the second City Commission meeting in May because of the holiday. Pretty self-explanatory. We'll meet the next day, correct? 7 o'clock, right here. So 1 day later, May 29th.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to old business, we have one item, and it's the public hearing for license fees. This is the time and place for the hearing for ordinance 1006, amending chapter 13. And I think on this one we'll have a little discussion before we get a motion, otherwise I'll have too many amendments to count. So you want to start out, Amy, and explain a little bit about what we're doing? Or appearing,
Sure, just let me get
attempting
to
to
that.
do?
Let me get to that agenda item here. So a couple of commissioners have visited with the finance office to bring forward a proposal to increase our Peddler and Solicitor licensing fees. They have indicated that and noticed that these have not been changed since they were established in 1949. So what you have in your information indicates that the current code pertaining to the peddlers and solicitors licenses. Our local statute references 3713 of codified law, which may have been more specific about what the amount of the fee had to be set by ordinance. But in another chapter, that chapter of the state code was also repealed in 92, which leaves it up to the municipalities to have broader authority to regulate peddlers and solicitors. So you have there the code, And the staff recommendation would be that the City Commission first amend the ordinance to allow the license fee to be set by resolution, which would only require one meeting and not a public hearing and multiple publication notices. And then you can, in the next action then would be to set that as you see appropriate by resolution.
So move.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Minor. Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Fertig.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Moving on to new business, the first item under new business is,
No, we have to go back.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, to consider okay. All right. Thanks for pointing that out. Any discussion on a motion on the resolution?
So if you look at rates for cities around the state or even Norfolk, Nebraska, since we haven't changed this since 1949, we are not even in the ballpark. I looked at all of those. I like Vermilion's rate structure. There they charge $25 per day, $75 per week, $200 per month, and that's per person. And I think we should also look at setting the hours that they can pedal, because currently I don't think we have any. So I think another thing we should consider is maybe 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I think this is a way that, to me, it's a privilege for these people, for peddlers to go around selling their wares, and a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate it, so I think we should make them pay a small fee to have that privilege to visit with our community members.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's $5 currently right now or something like that, right?
Any more discussion?
$5 is unlimited, there's no time on it, it's per year.
Is that even per person, or is it just per company?
Per person.
It is.
I'd support the Vermilion standard. That seems very reasonable to me.
So again, for those of you, I will put this in motion format for you, Charlie. $25 per day per person, $75 per week per person, $200 per month per person. And then I would also like to set the time limits for that from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Do we have to do that in two separate motions?
Actually, the timing aspect of it probably should be reduced to the ordinance. So you guys may want to go back and revote the ordinance. Now that it's the second reading, you guys can do that. You can amend it, and we could adopt that into the final language as adopted. If you guys want to go back and revote your ordinance approval, that's where that should be.
I will remove the time limits from my motion if we want to take care of that first.
Do we need to do the amendment before we do?
We can have another motion to supersede the first motion we had, correct? For the ordinance, to revise the ordinance. So we'll have a motion, we'll entertain a motion now if you'd like to amend the ordinance for the time.
You can't do that because you haven't, he's got to withdraw his motion and withdraw the second.
You
with
can still
regard to
vote the
fees.
motion on the
Yeah.
floor regarding the fee,
And then go back.
and then go back.
Okay,
Okay.
yep, all right. Do we have a motion for the fees alone?
So moved.
Okay, want to read that back again? Yeah, we had a motion. Nathan did.
Second.
All right. You want to read that back again, Al, please?
Yes, the motion is that the fee will be set at $25 daily. All these are per person. $25 daily, $75 weekly, $200 monthly.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion regarding the fees? Anybody from the audience?
My name is Ed Dwight. You all guys should take it easy because law is over 60 years old, and you should have a separate meeting, get together, and instead of that spot, we should have a separate meeting and we write the law. When you all get together, you all think at the same time. Have a separate meeting for it because. Like I said, I'm 65 in the end of the month, so they're really older than I am. So I need you to sit by and think back what it is. We're in the 21st century now. So I need you all take time out, sit back and have some meening and draw out what you want and what you don't want. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ed. Any more discussion? And we can always change it in another meeting if we don't like it. Roll call, please.
Mulder.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Ferdy.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom?
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Getting back to the ordinance.
My only concern is the hours. Being a father, 9 o'clock at night, especially on a school night, I don't want anybody knocking on my door. If the 12-hour time period is what you're gaining for, I just wouldn't go earlier and cut it off earlier. 7 to 7, 7 or 8 to 8, something like that. 9 is just a little too late for me.
Yeah, if people are more comfortable with 8 to 8, I don't have a problem with that. I think 9 to 9 is the one I saw most often, but we can do whatever we want. So,
We don't have to do 12 either. We could do 9 to 7.
Hey guys, this is Tony. The only thing that I would be curious about, and this goes back to many years ago, working at the First National Service Center, I believe that there is a situation where, like a call center, especially if you're wanting to solicit folks, that you probably have up until 9 p.m. at that local time in order to reach out to folks. Now that was if they were, in particular, if they were customers of yours, and so I don't know if that's why it's so consistent saying 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I certainly side with Chris. I for one wouldn't appreciate having someone knock on my door at 9 o'clock at night, but if that means that we should look into that a little bit closer and make sure that that there isn't some other rule out there that we have to follow, and making sure that if we're allowing peddlers, solicitors, that then we do have to follow a certain time frame. I don't know, but I'm just curious if that is something that we might have to follow on.
Tony, I think that the federal law is relative to the phone call solicitations, and a peddler is knock on the door. So I would suspect we have the ability to set our own limits. The phone calls are more obnoxious than the front door. I can ignore the front door.
Yep, I think you're right, Charlie. All I'm saying is that I just don't know, and I have to wonder why is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. consistent at these other locations. So, like I said, I'm with Chris here. I think 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. makes more sense, but just offering up that I really don't know if there is a rhyme or reason as to why 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is consistent at these other locations.
Any more discussion?
I would make a motion that we go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Sarda.
Aye.
Ferdy.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom?
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you for all the work put into this. Now we can say many years, 2018, last time we changed that. New business. The first one is a bid award for a rear loading truck or body, 18-67.
Move we approve the bid for $69,142.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Moving on to item number 2 under new business is a bid award for annual supply of bituminous mix. Memorandum 18-69.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Moving on to number 3 under new business is a bid award for the annual supply of liquid asphalt. Memorandum 18-68.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross. Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Number 4, the bid award for Walnut Street. Memorandum 18-70. And there's a, well, we got a recommendation, so if there's a motion or if you want to discuss it. First,
Move the resolution or the memorandum.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Discussion? There isn't.
Yeah, could you clarify again? It looks like the bid we're accepting is what it was originally bid, along with some special amenities that are wanted to be added on. Is that correct?
Correct. There was
Adam
two.
Haberman.
Thank you. There was 2 alternates with the bid. One was for some tables and chairs to go in that open area on the southeast corner of 3rd and Walnut. And then the other alternate was to upgrade the uplighting that's in the landscape beds from just the traditional natural light colored to where they could be of a color changing option. So you have different options to change the colors of the lights.
So would you be able to keep it like consistently green or blue? It wouldn't just change, like I'm thinking of the plaza lights where they change.
Nope, I think you could just switch them if you wanted them green all the time, they could stay to green or.
Any more questions?
Now, this is going to be for the Walnut Street, right? It's not going to cover any of the rest of the downtown.
This will be Walnut from 2nd to 4th,
Yep.
and then the parking lots along 2nd Street from Walnut to Capitol. And then there's 2 islands on the south side of 2nd Street at Douglas and Capitol. And
But
some-
like on 3rd Street itself, you know, I got all the other trees that have the white
Nope,
lights.
this does
is
not
just
affect
separate.
3rd Street at all.
And using the special projects, that still puts us within
Yes.
the ballpark of it.
Any more discussion? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. Moving on to number 5, under new business, is a bid award for a vehicle purchase for the police department, memorandum 18-66 and resolution 18-18.
Move the resolution to purchase the vehicle.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Question, do we offer it locally? A lot of times we've offered it locally and the local has declined because of the bid. Did we do that? The memo doesn't say that.
Yes, I believe they did, and
The memo points it out, it's Northtown was offered it. It's the second paragraph, the second sentence.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Any questions from the audience? Roll call, please.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross. Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffner.
Aye, motion carried. Number 6 under new business is the Sidewalk Cafe license, memorandum 18-73.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I think we had a couple points of clarification. I don't know if Ross wants to talk or not, but it looks like 2 of the projects actually have some fencing around it, and we had a question on if the one at, well, one, I think Boomers looks like they're expanding. Is this a larger section than you had last year?
Okay.
Okay.
Or do you have more questions?
That was one of my questions. And then 2, looks like the property at Drotzman's may or may not have a fencing, and so there was clarification. I don't know, you want to speak on that, Ross?
The ordinance requires that the pedestrian zone be clearly identifiable, and I can't tell from this particular drawing whether they include to provide some form of a barrier. So I'm wondering if anybody's here. There's no legal requirement that they have to provide it. We just need to be able to identify where the pedestrian zone is. So that's my only concern, and you guys have the ability to address the pedestrian zone. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. I know that law enforcement like to be able to tell where's that line, so I know if people are, they know if people are, crossing the line and drinking where they're not supposed to and that kind of thing.
Dave, didn't they have a license last year? Because I'm thinking they just had 2 chairs sitting outside their door.
That's correct. That's what they did last year. And one of the things you'll see even in the Boomers application is, for example, in the Boomers situation, their license zoned were the same as in the application this year, but they didn't utilize all of them all the time. So that's why you may have thought they weren't as big last year, but they're bigger this year. They just didn't utilize all the space. Same thing at Rounding Third. Their licensed zone was larger than what they used last year parts of the time. And that's exactly right. It was 2 tables and 4 or 5 chairs around those tables.
So how does that impact the open container law then? If, I just think like Boomers, there's a metal fencing that I would assume if they step outside that, is that considered an open container? And if it is, then how does that work where there's an area?
So when we wrote the Sidewalk Cafe ordinance, that was a big topic of discussion at the staff level. And the decision in the end was to separate the 2 processes. And so when you're looking at this has nothing to do with the liquor license. This is a Sidewalk Cafe permit, and there isn't a fencing requirement associated with it. We could rewrite the ordinance to require fencing or painting on the sidewalks or some other delineation. But we had, at the time that the ordinance was created, people interested in sidewalk cafes without alcohol. So that's how we ended up where we did.
Okay, and I totally agree with you. I love sitting outdoors, and I think I've frequented those places. My other question then would be, is they're in a unique situation, and it looks like they have some tables up by one part of the bar and then some other ones on the south side of the bar. Is there anything preventing from somebody being in one seating area, picking up their drink, and walking to the other seating area? See what I'm saying? Because it's pretty spread out.
Yeah, I would say the law is preventing it because that area isn't permitted. And they need to be in an area that's permitted. And that area isn't identified as Sidewalk Cafe as depicted in their drawing.
What about walking across, as Boomers is located, you actually have to physically walk across the pedestrian right-of-way to get to that spot.
Yeah,
so
for what
I think
it's worth, as far as alcohol licensing, we aren't really licensing the sidewalk. South Dakota law allows them to serve on the sidewalk if the municipality approves it, because this is still a public sidewalk.
Correct.
So there will be people that pass through the pedestrian area. The pedestrian area, it was staff's recommendation that it be clearly identifiable so that we don't have problems with the access between buildings or between businesses anywhere downtown. So again, they aren't really licensing the sidewalk. It's state law allows it. If it's a full-service cafe, they allow the consumption of alcohol on the sidewalk, the sale and consumption. Now, there are a few small exceptions depending on how the business is located. For instance, Charlie's. You see Charlie's is not here, but Charlie's has a drinking area outside of their building. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but there's not designated sidewalk in front of Charlie's. Charlie's right-of-way goes, or business facility, the license area goes all the way out to the curb.
Yeah, the
And so
private property.
Yeah, so it's private property. That's different than what we're talking about here. They've licensed the outside area. Another one that comes to mind is the Landing. The Landing has all kinds of land in between buildings down there. They've licensed their whole block, short of, again, the sidewalk out front. That's not part of it, but you can go down an alley and drink, you can be out in the back and drink, because the whole parcel is licensed.
Any more questions?
I see Kim's here. I just want to say you do a really nice job with your area.
You want to go up and grab a mic so that all the people out in live land can hear you.
When
You
we did this,
State your name, please.
Kim Brownsreither from Boomer, representing Boomers. When we did this 2 years ago, I believe we were told that we had to have 2 feet from the curb and 5 feet of right of way. So the area that we have fenced in, we make sure that no, a crop between the building and the sidewalk, and then we've got the 2 feet from the curb and that fencing area. On the paper that you have, that when we first submitted it, we did ask for the other side, the west side, to also include that possibly later on if we wanted to put more things there. But we do hopefully plan on, I've talked with Todd about getting another planter where we were supposed to have a tree, and we want to, make it look nice. But I just want to be sure that we're following the rules that have been set up, and that everybody else is too, that they're not just putting out table and chairs, and we're trying to keep, and we are getting a new fence this year too that will hopefully last. So, okay. Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Kim. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Moser.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Purdy.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Hoffman.
Aye, motion carried. The final item, number 7, under new business, is the introduction and first reading of the sidewalk width ordinance 1007. Okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you for coming, everyone.